We are on the record in hearing number 2021-01930, the matter of the discrimination complaint of Ellen Kutz versus Lutheran Urban Mission Initiative. This is day 2 of testimony in the case. I just reviewed with the parties what procedurally we're going to do today because Ms. Kutz will not be testifying until later in the day. We're going to proceed with a witness for the respondent. After that witness, it's anticipated that Attorney Stoffel would be cross-examining Ms. Kutz, and then presumably then if Attorney Yerk had redirect for her, that would proceed. But in general, that is the procedure that we're going to be following this morning and today. So with that, then, Attorney Stoffel, who's the first witness for the respondent?
I'll begin with Ms. Laring, who, for the record, we're referring to as Ms. Doherty, because that was her name at all times material, and that's how it's reflected in the papers that have been exchanged in discovery.
All right, Ms. Doherty, if you'd please raise your right hand, I'll swear you in for your testimony. Do you swear to tell the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
And if you would state your name for the record, spelling your last name.
Stacy Leering, Luehring.
And you work for Lutheran Urban Mission Initiative, is that correct?
Yes.
What is your position there?
Principal.
And how long have you worked for the respondent?
I have worked for Lumen since 2020.
And I don't know if we've gotten this on the record yet, but what is the nature of the business of Lumen?
They're a network of schools, and we are part of that network.
All right, and is this elementary schools, high schools, or a combination thereof?
Elementary, K4 through 8.
All right, Attorney Stoffel, questions then for your witness.
Your Honor, would it be possible to have the witnesses other than the employer's representative put in a separate room?
Okay, that's not discretionary. So besides the witness who's testifying, Ms. Doherty, as it were, and then I don't remember who's the designated representative, Attorney Stoffel, for Lumen.
Judge, I guess we didn't get to the point of designation. We brought this up at the last hearing, or the commencement of this hearing, however you want to put it, and we discussed that multiple representatives of Lumen wished to be present and observe the proceedings, and we all agreed at that time that we could proceed as such. I guess this is a different request than what I understood we'd agreed to last time.
Well, it's yeah. I understand that was the arrangement for the first hearing. Attorney Yerk apparently has decided for this hearing that he would like the witnesses sequestered. So it's not a discretionary call for me. It's once it's requested, it must be done. So other than Ms. Doherty, who's testifying right now, and then one person that you can designate as the representative for Lumen, that person can stay, and everyone else will have to leave. And the court reporter obviously can stay.
Yeah. The way we've been going, I guess, Ms. Brust, would you like to be the designee? Mr. Laring, you seem to be nodding your head. Should we proceed that way? Okay. Then Carrie Brust, Director of HR of Lumen, will be our designated individual.
Okay, I'm going to make a note of that. All right, and then basically everyone else that is not Ms. Doherty or Ms. Brust or the court reporter, if you could please, remove yourselves from the proceeding, turn off the audio and video for the computer that you're on, and then we will notify you when your testimony is needed.
Okay.
All right. So, Attorney Stoffel, questions then for Ms. Doherty.
Okay. Good morning, Ms. Doherty.
Good morning.
Okay. The judge has asked you a couple questions about your background. I'd like to just follow up with a little bit more. How long have you worked at St. Peter Emmanuel School?
I've worked at St. Peter Emmanuel since August of 2012.
Okay. And what was your role in August of 2012?
I was the K4 classroom teacher.
Okay. And did you step into a different role as time went by?
Yes, I did.
And when did you step into a different role?
I stepped into a different role in October of 2019.
Okay. And what was that role?
Principal.
Okay. And has that been your role ever since?
Yes.
Were you the principal in during the 2020-2021 school year?
Yes.
And the 2021-2022 school year as well?
Yes.
Okay. And in your role as principal, do you have familiarity generally with the requirements of the Americans with Disabilities Act and Wisconsin Fair Employment Laws?
Yes, I have a general understanding of it. Yes.
Okay. And as relates to individuals with disabilities, what's your understanding as to what those laws generally require?
That we cannot discriminate or treat them any differently based off of disability, age, race, gender.
Okay. And do you have any understanding as to what might be obligated of an organization if somebody has a disability?
Yes.
What's your understanding?
To make the necessary accommodations that they would need to carry out their day-to-day job duties.
And in your role as principal, have you fulfilled those obligations in the past years?
Yes.
Okay. On one occasion or multiple occasions?
Multiple occasions.
Okay. Now, I want to ask you some specifics now. You've been explaining that you have been with St. Peter Emmanuel School since 2012, but that you just answered the judge's question and responded that you've been an employee of Lumen since 2020.
Correct.
Correct? So can you explain to me how that change occurred?
In January of 2020, I met with Mr. Leering, and at that time we had conversations about St. Peter Emmanuel becoming part of the Lumen School Network.
And did you say that was January of 2020?
Yes.
Okay. And what became of those conversations with Mr. Leering?
Through continued conversations and just looking at the benefits of being part of the network, in February of 2020, we voted that we would then become part of the Lumen network beginning in the 2020-2021 school year.
Okay. And when did that changeover to becoming a part of the network begin specifically?
It began, I believe, in July of 2020.
Okay. And was it a full integration that first year of 2020, or was it something slightly different from that?
It was slightly different. It was a transitional year, that first year.
And that was the first year. So when did the full transition take place?
The 2021-2022 school year.
Okay. Now, to get into a couple things that were brought up in past testimony, are you aware that you recall Ms. Kutz's testimony related to an individual named Amy Piekner?
Yes.
Okay. Was she an employee at SP? Well, for the record, I'll refer to St. Peter Emmanuel church or school, and I'll try to make the distinction between church and school, but as SPI. Was Ms. Piekner an employee of SPI school in past years?
Yes, she was.
What was her role?
She was the school principal.
Okay. What was her last year's principal?
Her last year as principal was the 2017-2018 school year.
Okay. And so as you just discussed, the changeover to Lumen, was she ever an employee of Lumen?
No, she was not.
And can you just tell me how you know that, why that's the case?
Because Amy Piekner was my school leader as I was a teacher, and while I was a teacher, we were not in any way affiliated or part of the Lumen school network.
Okay. So when Ms. Kutz testified that Lumen wanted her to be principal of two different schools, is that even possible?
No.
Okay. To your knowledge, was Ms. Piekner ever the principal of two different schools?
No.
Okay. Do you recall the testimony of Ms. Kutz wherein she said she was dissatisfied that she was never given a laptop?
Yes.
Did Ms. Kutz ever have conversations with you about that?
No, not that I recall.
Had you ever heard anything like that until hearing Ms. Kutz's testimony at the last hearing?
No, I had not.
Okay. Do you recall Ms. Kutz's testimony that she wasn't notified of meetings?
Yes.
Had Ms. Kutz ever raised that with you as an issue while you were the principal?
No.
Okay. Is that the first time you'd ever heard of that complaint?
Yes.
Okay. I would like you to turn to now. You have the exhibit binders, Ms. Doherty?
Yes, I do.
Okay. I'd like you to turn to the Lumen exhibit binder. Now, because I think the binder you have is going to be numbered slightly different than the exhibits as they came in, I'm gonna call out each exhibit with two numbers. I'll
Okay.
start with the number it's been marked for purposes of this hearing, and then I'll direct you to where it's found in the Lumen binder. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so I'd like to direct you to what's been marked for the purposes of this hearing as exhibit number 6. For your binder, that's Lumen tab 1, exhibit 1.
Okay.
And tell me when you're there.
I'm there.
Okay, can you tell me what this document is?
This is the offer letter that we gave to Mrs. Kutz for the 2020-2021 school year.
Okay, and you see at the very bottom Ms. Kutz's signature?
Yes.
Okay, and above it, can you just read the very first sentence that says, "I understand"?
I understand that my employment at St. Peter Emmanuel SPI is at will.
Okay. Was it your understanding That was in fact was the employment relationship that Lumen had with Ms. Kutz?
Yes.
Okay. Were you with Ms. Kutz when she agreed to this letter?
Yes.
Do you remember conversations with Ms. Kutz at that time?
I was, this was a group meeting that we had with Mrs. Kutz. And I remember parts of the conversation, yes.
Okay, what do you recall Ms. Kutz voicing about this letter?
She was dissatisfied about the change in how she was going to be paid. The pay, as you can see, the base salary is on there. But instead of it being a salaried position, it was transitioning to an hourly position. However, it was thoroughly explained to her that we took her current salary and transitioned it to an hourly rate that would equal her current salary or be more depending on when she worked,
Okay.
because she was eligible for overtime.
Okay. Now, I also want to ask you to move on to testimony Ms. Kutz gave about a discussion you had with her on May 25th. Do you recall, of 2011? Do you recall that testimony?
Of 2021, yes.
And do you recall that conversation back in 2021 with Ms. Kutz?
Yes.
And what was your understanding as to the status of Ms. Kutz's medical leave? Well, just to remind us all, can you just remind me what was the kind of just generally the substance of that conversation?
The substance of that conversation was addressing her overall demeanor and how she was interacting with individuals within the school.
Okay. And what was your understanding of the status of her medical leave at the time you had that conversation with her?
That she had already been cleared for work.
Okay. Was it your understanding that you were having this conversation, in the midst of a time when she was still on medical leave?
Objection leading.
It is leading. I'm going to let the witness respond to the question. Go ahead, Ms. Tardy.
No, it was to my understanding that her medical leave had been cleared.
Okay. Okay, a series of emails were marked and discussed in the first day of hearings, and I'd like to, or the first day of this hearing, I'd like to go through some of those with you. If you could go to what has been marked for the record as Trial Exhibit 19, it's found in the claimant's or Ellen Kutz's exhibit book at tab 2.
I'm there.
Okay. Can you tell me what this document is?
It's an email exchange between Mrs. Kutz and I.
Okay. And what's the date of that email exchange?
July 16th, 2021.
And who's the author of the email?
Ellen sent the first email.
Okay. And I think I don't know on tab 2, if there's more than one page, I can check. But it's my understanding that only one page, EK1, has been designated as the trial exhibit. Am I mistaken?
That's correct.
Okay. And can you just give me briefly your so Ms. Doherty, I'm just focused on page 1,
Mhm.
page 1. Can you tell me your understanding of what was being communicated to you on July 16th, 2021?
From my understanding, it was communicated to me that my understanding that Ellen communicated to me that she potentially had another stroke.
Okay. Okay, and then I'd like you to turn to what's been marked as Trial Exhibit 3. And that's found in the same complainant's book at tab 22. Oh, I'm sorry. It's, yeah, Trial Exhibit 3, and that is at, sorry, Lumen Exhibit 8 in the Lumen book.
Is this tab 8?
Tab 8, yeah, in the Lumen book. Okay. And flip through tab 8 till you get to the page marked Lumen 213.
Okay.
Okay. This page, what do you recognize this document to be?
An email that Ellen Kutz sent to myself and the church pastor.
Okay. And what's the date of this email?
The date is July 27th,
Okay. Of which year?
2021.
Okay. And I'd like to direct your attention to the 4th paragraph that starts, please. Can you just read that paragraph to me?
Please put me in for short-term disability. I can work on the computer in small pieces of time, working on the PPP loan and financial stuff for Renata. I stopped by today to talk to whoever was there, Jose only. I grabbed my packages and headed home.
Okay. And then read the next paragraph for me.
August 3rd is the admin meeting. I will join by Zoom and do what I can. Also working on the last recorded meeting I missed while in Seattle.
Okay. Now, did you read this email back in July of 2021?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And did you have any concerns about what was in this email?
She asked me to put her in or the pastor in for short-term disability. To my understanding, when an individual is on short-term disability or any disability, they should not be working. That was my big question.
Okay. And from reading this email, did you have any understanding as to whether Ellen was working?
She said that she was working.
Okay. And then now I'd like to direct your attention, same exhibit, so just flip to the email at Lumen 215.
I'm there.
Okay, can you tell me what this document is?
It is an email to one of our HR employees asking her that if Ellen is on disability, can she be completing work from home for verification?
Okay, and why did you send this email?
Because Ellen stated that she was doing work from home, and I wanted to be clear on what next steps should be in regards to her working or not working.
Okay. Now, if you could go to what's been marked as Trial Exhibit 9, and it's in the complainant's book at tab 22. And once you're in tab 22, go to the page Bates labeled Lumen 156.
Okay.
Okay. What do you recognize this document to be?
An email that I sent to Ellen, touching base with her on documentation.
Okay.
Excuse me.
And what's the date of this email?
July 28th, 2021.
Okay. And can you just read the first sentence and the second paragraph starting I do?
I do need a letter from your doctor within the next 3 days clearing you from work.
Okay. Now, why did you send or why did you write that sentence to Ellen?
She had been out then since it was initially communicated July 16th. It had been almost 2 weeks, and we were getting to be at the point of the school year getting to be into full swing, and I needed to know how to plan, when to expect her back, because the criticalness of that role, it cannot be unfilled. So I had to have a general idea of when she was potentially going to be cleared to come back to work. And I had received nothing from a doctor at that point that was saying she was excused or cleared from work.
Okay. In your background as a supervisor, have you asked or required employees for doctor's notes when they're out for medical reasons?
Yes.
What's your general practice in regards to that?
If they are out for extended periods of time, they are required to provide doctor documentation.
Okay. And you recall when you were adversely called as part of complainant's case in chief, on my redirect, we went through some of those employment, the provisions of the employee handbook.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yes. Do you have any understanding of whether requesting medical substantiation is supported by the handbook?
Yes, it is.
And do you recall what the handbook provides as to your ability to request medical substantiation?
I mean, I could request medical substantiation at any time, but really any time after 3 days, it should be required to be submitted.
Okay. And in the past, had Ellen taken any medical, time off work for medical reasons?
She took time off for medical reasons in April of 2021.
Okay. And did you have any issue getting medical notes during that time?
No.
Okay. Was there, so in your mind, was there anything significant? You brought up that, she first informed you on July 16th of medical issues, and you brought up a moment ago, now it was July 28th. What was significant to you about the passage of time?
It had been 2 weeks, and there was nothing that we had received from her.
Okay. Okay, I'd like you to read the next sentence stating unfortunately. Just that sentence, please.
Unfortunately, since you are not cleared for work, this includes completing any work from home.
Okay, and why did you write that?
To ensure that we are staying consistent and following procedure accordingly.
Okay, and what's your understanding as to why that procedure is, what the purpose of that procedure?
Because if an employee is not cleared to come into the building and they're excused from work, they cannot be doing any work at home either.
Okay. And you know what drives that consideration, that policy?
I'm not.
Okay. But in any event, that was your understanding.
Yes, that
Okay.
was my understanding.
Okay. Now I'm going to turn to what's been marked as Trial Exhibit 14. This is at C22, so complainant's book.
This was tab 22.
Again, tab 22. Yep. And once you're in tab 22, I'd like you to go to the document marked Lumen 65.
I'm there.
Okay. What do you recognize this document to be?
This is a document from Harry Brust to Mrs. Kutz.
Okay. Who was CC'd?
Myself and another employee in our HR
Okay.
department.
Okay. And I'd like you to turn to page 2 of this document.
Okay.
Okay. Now, do you recall in your first round of testimony questioning about communications between you and Ms. Kutz about any inability of her to provide medical documentation?
Yes.
And do you recall having difficulty having memories about that?
Yes.
Okay, could you just read for me on page 2 here, the very first sentence of page 2.
On July 28th, you notified Miss Doherty via voicemail that you are unable to provide medical documentation, stating that you are unable to report to work.
Okay. Does this refresh your memory in any way as to how you came to learn Ms. Kutz was communicating that she was unable to provide medical documentation?
Yes.
Okay. And is your memory consistent with this sentence here?
Yes.
Okay. Did receiving that voicemail raise any concerns in your mind?
It did.
What concerns did it raise?
This on July 28th, we were 12 days past the initial communication, and she's unable to provide medical documentation, and now stating that her doctor, can't provide it.
Okay. Okay. I'd like to go back to what's Lumen's tab 8. It's been marked as Trial Exhibit 3.